Recruiters, wake up! Why the future is tech-driven and ballsy with Ryan Federico. Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your hosts, David and Al Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because, let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together. Welcome back to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast. If you've ever wondered what happens when confidence meets automation and you mix in some serious recruiting psychology, today's episode is your masterclass. But before we dive in, you can get all the resources, show notes, and how to get in touch with our awesome guest, Ryan. If you go to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast, we got all the goodies for you there. So make sure you grab those. So our guest today is Ryan Federico himself. And if you've spent more than 5 minutes in the life space, you've either heard of him or been recruited by one of his agents. So he's a virtual sales beast, scaled to 5 million in policy sales, co-host How to Sell Insurance podcast. Check that one out. It's awesome. And has strong opinions on where the industry is headed. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
What's going on, man? Can we take a minute just to appreciate our design sense? That we both ended up with some greenery background with neon signs going on, man. I love it. I also
capture the attention.
I also appreciate in the video, I think we gotta bring you back to just the hair just on the top of your head and not going down the rest of your head. Just a little kind of top fade was sick, man. It had a lot of swag to it. But yeah, man, happy to be here and super excited.
I at one point had it down to the shoulders and was just for getting called Jon Snow. So back when Game of Thrones was at its heyday, I did get Jon Snow references, and then I cut it because it's way too hot. So
listen, I keep telling my team, dude, one day I'm just going to be gone for a couple weeks, and I'm going to be in Turkey getting hair transplants, and I'm just going to roll onto one of our meetings just with some Fabio locks just flowing behind me. For sure, man. What's going on? What are we going to talk about today?
So let's talk a little bit about your backstory, right? I don't think we've gone over too much around that. So I'd love to hear what's been that journey and how'd you get to the space today that you're in. As most people aren't, I want to be a astronaut, pro ball player, or run a life agency when I grow up. So how'd you get here?
Man, it's an incredible story. I'm just kidding. It's not very incredible, but I was in college and I was doing sales, and I ended up graduating and stayed in the sales industry and had a band, and we got we got some record industry momentum and started producing music and touring, playing shows and stuff like that throughout the country. And, ended up just kind of, we had this idea that we were going to produce music in Mexico. And so we moved down to Puerto Vallarta and we started producing music down in Mexico. And just by happenstance, when we came back to LA, we ended up in a studio where we were writing and producing music where, one side of the studio was us and the other side of the studio was Bruno Mars. And so it was before he was Bruno Mars, and we got to be sort of front and center to see the whole rise of that amazingly talented individual. But was deeply entrenched in writing music and producing music, and sort of being in that scene. And when I had my first child, it was the life of a record producer isn't really conducive to being a present husband and father, right? So it was some months is $50,000 and some months is $50, and some nights you're in until 7 a.m. overnight, and some nights you're in until 2 p.m. It kind of depends on the day, and it's very unpredictable and hard to build a solid life on. So I sold everything and kind of went back into sales. And I started doing home improvement sales and, you know, sort of in-home sales for outdoor living, windows and doors, stuff like that. I ended up being a regional sales trainer for a large home improvement brand. And man, it's just like I was making a decent amount of money, but in that industry, I was just like always away from home. And I was, whether I was in the field, you know, forever working with clients sitting at their house, or I was traveling, or I was doing trainings or whatever, it just seemed like I was making a decent amount of money, but I was kind of a zero at home, if that makes sense. You know, so it was like I was headed on the road for divorce. I was, you know, absentee father, just not really what I wanted in my life. And I remember, for those of you who are like, for those of you who might be recruiting and bringing people into your agency, if you're listening to this, my Instagram life looked awesome. Like my Instagram life looked great. Like we had pictures, everybody was smiling. We had all the stuff, you know, Grammy nominated record producer, you know what I mean? It's like all this like acclaim that you can see, like all this stuff around. And, you know, like if you were thinking of somebody in your life that you would want to invite into working in insurance, my name probably would have got skipped over on your list, which was just like, oh, he's fine. You know what I mean? Oh, like, no, he's got his thing going on. He's in music, or, oh, he's, you know, he's a regional sales director, or, oh, he's, you know, he's doing all this training, whatever. He's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably not going to be good for our industry. He's not going to want to start over at zero, or, you know, or whatever. Whatever you like, whatever excuse you give yourself about why you don't reach out to the people in your life and bring them into, you know, the industry that you're in. And I remember getting a call from a dude that used to work with me. And I was in Spokane, Washington, and I was at a Homewood Suites working out in the gym. And this guy called me, and he was just, his whole recruiting pitch, David, his whole recruiting pitch was, hey, man, how are you? That was the whole recruiting pitch, was how are you? And I was just like, oh, my God, I'm going to get divorced, and I'm working all this time, and I never see my kids, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, I'm so stressed out. And, you know, keep in mind, like, even though we had all the things, like even when I was at home, I wasn't really home, if that makes sense. Like I was always on the phone, taking calls, answering emails, you know, like I was always under a deadline. We'd go on vacation, and like, you know, my family would be in the pool or be in the ocean, you know, or something like that. And I'd be like pacing around the hotel, like, oh my God, I don't know how we're going to hit these numbers, you know, or whatever. And so I was like that. It was taking a toll on my health. It was taking a toll on my marriage. It was taking a toll on my family, is, you know, my relationship with my kids. And so he just said, how are you? And I vomited all over him. And he was just like, man, I'm doing this new thing, and I think you'd be really good at it. You should check it out. And he put me on the phone with the guy that got him involved at the company that we're at, who was an agency owner at that point in time. And we went through everything, and man, it was, the thing that sold me was like, we were still going face to face back then. I know some people listening to this are still going face to face today, which I think is ridiculous, but we were back then, we were still going face to face. And what sold me was we were only in the field 2 days a week. And so it was just like, you're going to load up your calendar Monday and Tuesday. You're going to go out and meet with these people in the field. And then Wednesday through Sunday, you're going to be working from home. And I was like, perfect. 5 nights a week, I can have dinner with my family. I can be there for my kids. I can pick them up and drop them off from school, like all those things. And I was like, great. Sounds wonderful. What are we selling again? Right, it was like, what is it? Oh, it's insurance? Okay, cool. It literally was that way when I got into this. Was like, I didn't care, man. I'd sold, you know, janitorial service. I had done door-to-door, you know, fiber optic internet sales. You know, I had done you know, certainly outdoor living, where we did like patios and barbecues and driveways, and I had like sold designs to people. And when, you know, the last industry before I came here was windows and doors, where I was selling, you know, windows and doors for a large brand, and we were going into people's homes and, you know, designing their windows and doors and replacing them and getting them made and getting paid. And so like I've done all these things, so it really didn't matter to me. I knew I had the sales skills, I knew I had the people skills, and it was just like, can I make money, and can I be at home for a decent amount of time with my family? That was the only thing that mattered to me. And I remember having the conversation with my wife, you know, like, because I was making a little under 300K. And I remember having the conversation that, like, even if I was making 100,000, but I got to be home. Like we would make it work. We'd figure it out. And that that 300K that was taking its toll on my health and taking its toll on our marriage and taking its toll on my relationship with my children was very expensive money. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it was like, it didn't really matter to me anymore. And it was like, okay, cool. Now, thankfully, my first year I made over 200K, and in my second year I was over 300K. So I got back to that level, and I haven't made under 300 since, since 2019 would be the first year that I made 300K. But it's been an amazing ride since then. And, very impactful. So I know it's a long-winded answer to my background, but that's how I got into this crazy business, man. It wasn't on purpose, but it wasn't like I've heard some people say this, and I'll say this and then we can move on to the next question. Some people have been like, oh, I heard about people selling insurance and I thought, like, had life gotten that bad, or something? And they make some joke about insurance, like being kind of a sleazy industry. And I gotta be honest, man, I never saw it that way. Like, my family has been greatly affected by insurance. I've had family members who have needed, insurance, critical illness and chronic illness type of insurance for, I saw it in force, working in my life. And so I always had valued insurance, and I always valued, people that sold insurance, like to help protect people. And it just had never really come across my timeline, for lack of a better term. And so when I got into it, it was just like, it's just another thing that I can sell. Like, it didn't really matter to me if it was insurance or if it was, TV or cable and internet or solar or whatever. It's just the next element. And once I got in, man, like I remember about 6 months in, I had a death claim. One of the first policies I wrote. So Mutual of Omaha, and this guy had an aneurysm while he was driving, and he like swerved off the freeway and he passed away in a car accident. And he was a younger guy. He was like in his mid 40s, like 47, 48, something like that, and I guess that would be late 40s, but he wasn't like unhealthy. It wasn't like the person that you would expect to like die. Mm-hmm. And I remember just like, I can still picture it today. Like, this is 6 months in the business. This is like 7.5 years ago. I can still picture this woman, like me showing up to her house with the check from Mutual of Omaha that they overnighted to me, like 5 days after this guy died or 6 days after this guy died. Like, the incontestability was done quickly, and they sent them the death certificate, and like, she was still like inconsolable, like just sobbing, family around. And then like I had this $180,000 check for her, and it was like, I got to see what our industry actually does for people. And it kind of changed my view on what we do and how I approach this. And it became more meaningful. And like, it wasn't just another product that I could sell. It became actually very important to me that we got people covered. And I kind of became an evangelist for people getting protection, right? And getting, at least being educated about what's out there for their family. So hopefully that's enough for everybody. And you kind of know where I came from.
No, I love that, because I mean, when you truly realize, you're not selling, faster internet or, a new car, all of which are great, but like ultimately you realize the impact you're having on lives and legacies and everything there. So, I mean, doing important things. This industry is fantastic and really important, and that's why it's going to stay around forever as a part of it. So it's a great way to help people. Why? Yeah. Earning really good income is a part of it. So that's why I like asking. Everybody's got a really interesting story of how they got here, and not a lot of them are just like, hey, cool, I'm born, let's be an insurance agent, right? So I love the journey as a part of that, from jamming jives to saving lives, right? So
I will throw out there my direct upline, one of my closest friends, Eric Prabula, he did grow up wanting to be an insurance agent. Like, he grew up around A.L. Williams and like wanting to be an insurance agent. And like, he was 100% was like, I'm going to be an insurance agent one day. Like, and so he's the only person that I know who's like, can tell that story of like, nobody wanted to grow up being an insurance agent, but he definitely did, for 100%, So anyway.
I find if someone's parents are in that, then absolutely. Like I feel like Joe Camper also similarly, like I wanted to be an insurance agent, right? Since he was like 16, 17 or something like that. But yeah, so no, I love that. And, it's a great industry, and obviously it's been great for you as well from the work and everything you put into it. Building a 5 million virtual agency in under 3 years. 4 years. What was some key unlocks to that and some of the big kind of growth points to that? Obviously COVID, I'm sure, had an effect on that.
Well, yeah, so we had already kind of worked with going virtual in 2019 because we could already feel that like people didn't want us in their house anymore, and that the demographic that did want us in their house were dying. Right. And so it's just like they were. So like, yeah, some would argue, well, they need insurance more than anybody because they're dying. I get it. I understand. But like they weren't who we were going to be able to build our future on. Right. Because like they're going to be gone. And the people that do business that way are going to be gone. Like 5 years ago, there was a lot of people that didn't like use a computer or didn't have had a flip phone, you know what I mean? Or something like that. And it's like, who does that today? Virtually nobody. Right. So we had already seen the writing on the wall that we need to develop the skills to go virtual. And our entire company pivoted and invested heavily in training and development and scripting and, masterminds and workshops. And how do we go virtual, and how do we create a presentation where we can share our screen, and how do we do applications at that point in time? In 2020, not a lot of people remember this, but in 2020, like there was only a handful of carriers that had e-apps that like accepted DocuSign and, and you could do things virtually. And so we had to like work with all the carriers to get everybody up and running. And so then COVID happened, and we were already prepared when COVID happened. Because it was already the direction that we were going anyway. And then everybody was forced, and we had a natural moment when a lot of people wanted to buy insurance because they were afraid of what COVID might do. And there's uncertainty in the market. And so we took off like crazy in 2020. For our agency, had one of the biggest years ever. For the company that we're in, was one of the biggest years ever. And we really haven't looked back since, and since 2020, I think we're trending for, about $3.5 to $4 million this year just in our agency. And since 2020, it's been, somewhere in the $2 million a year range, so if you kind of put that all together, it's $13 or $14 million in annual premium. And we just have not met anybody in person. Like that's all been virtual from 2020 on, or from just before 2020 on. So it's been amazing, and it's been great. It's been, of course, challenging, and there's positives and negatives to both. When you're not sitting with somebody in person, you need to sharpen your skills and be a little bit more attentive and hear the things that they're saying, and have them pay attention a little bit more. And you got to change the way that you work a little bit. But the freedom is unbelievable. Because I've written apps everywhere, man. I've written apps in Costa Rica. I've written apps in Mexico. I've written apps in Jamaica. I've written apps, in every state of the United States that I've traveled to for conferences. I've written apps. I do a lot of my work here from my home office, and I still drop my kids off and pick them up and go to baseball practice. And, I get to control, when I work and where I work, and leverage the entire country. I think that for people that are still going out in person, and honestly, man, I think it's kind of just like a myth. I don't know that there's a lot of people that are actually still going out in person, but like for people that are still going out in person, I get to use the entire country as my territory. And so it's like, there might not be people here in Los Angeles where I am that are available. They might be in Maine, right? They might be in West Virginia. They might be in Kentucky. They might be in Michigan. And I get to work with the entire country because I don't have to go see them in person. I get to meet them, online like this. And so it's worth getting to know that skill. It's worth becoming good at virtual selling and, getting people on an online meeting and teaching yourself the difference between Zoom and Google Meet and FaceTime and, Skype, if somebody's on Skype or something like that, like whatever they're on, like you learn them. Meet them where they are and meet them virtually and help them get insurance, because it's so freeing, and it's so much more predictable, and it's so much more profitable. I remember like how for a long time, man, I was going to Las Vegas and I was producing in Las Vegas because I found out like driving around Southern California was terrible. Like I would get leads in like Palm Springs, or I'd get leads in Barstow, or I'd get leads in Orange County, or I'd get leads all over the place. And it was just like, it could be 2 hours between my appointments. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I started going to Las Vegas, man. There's this amazing producer in Las Vegas. His name was Sean Kim. Shout out to the animal, Sean Kim, the Korean mastermind. And the guy was just an amazing, amazing insurance salesperson. He was doing $700K a year, $600K a year when I came in, just in personal, like simplified issue life sales. Unbelievable profit margin, just like was awesome. And he was young, he's in his late 20s, and he was just crushing it, man. And so I figured out, Vegas is 3 hours from my front door. Why don't I just like drop the kids off on Monday, shoot up to Vegas, run all my appointments Monday, stay overnight, run all my appointments Tuesday, and come back on Tuesday night. And I did that for, the majority of 2018, 2019, when I first kind of got into this, when I didn't want to drive around SoCal. I also figured out that there was a lot of clients that Sean Kim, that prolific of a producer, would miss, that I could just kind of like scoop up behind him. You know what I mean? So, and there were some times that I split some deals with him. Like we did some cool stuff, but I was producing there. And so it was just like, man, the amount of gas it would take me to drive around, the wear and tear on the vehicle, the hotel stays, the food, like all of the stuff that it would cost me to do that work, in overhead, now is gone. I don't pay any of that. I got a ring light and a camera that I'm talking to you on and the internet. And, like these trophies come along with when you sell a bunch, right? So I didn't have to buy those. So it was like, I love working virtually, and I love how much technology has changed the game for us. And man, it's just, I don't think it's real life that I ever like didn't do it virtually, that I had to go see somebody in person. It sounds like a uphill both ways in the snow to me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It sounds like the war stories from back in the day. Back in my day, we had to drive 3 hours to have them reschedule on us and go back the next day, right? And it's like, why? Like, well, we didn't have the phone, internet, and our people thought it didn't work. And then COVID made it work, and we're like, oh, yeah, it does work, right? So I love the adaptability. Yeah, I know, but right, there were organizations that did phone prior to that, and everybody's like, persistency won't stay, it doesn't work. And they're like, it does. And then everybody else was like, especially being on the forefront like you guys, were like, hey, we're already doing this, and everybody, welcome to the game off of that. So I love the adaptability. I love, changing markets. I mean, you're still selling insurance, still helping, just in a more efficient, more fulfilling way. It's easier to be healthier, be around your family, all these things you can't do in the field. So 100%. Isn't it fun selling stuff from abroad? Like, yeah, I'm in Mexico, I'm in Italy, whatever, it doesn't matter. I can sell my insurance, and it's incredible. Like, we love to travel too, and it's just like a cool thing that most people imagined, like, oh, being able to do work while on a beach and in a different country, that's like a life goal. And it's like, it's not that hard. You can do it now, right? So.
Yeah. I think about life differently. And that's really the truth, is like when I'm thinking about going on a vacation, I'm thinking about how I can take a 10 or 11 day vacation where I can mix in work in it so that we can like have a blast and really experience everything, rather than I'm going to take a 4-night vacation or a 5-night vacation where we jam everything in, and then I'm like super stressed before I go and super stressed when I get back having to catch up, because I can do what I do from anywhere, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm going to set up my day where I have a few hours that I'm working and a few hours that, like I can send the kids to the arcade and my wife to the spa, and I can, make $4,000 or $5,000 and then enjoy the rest of the vacation. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's, you think about it differently when you have that skill. So for anybody who doesn't have that skill, I promise you, it's not the easiest thing to acquire. Like, you need to really brush up in your sales skills. You need to understand communication. You need to be able to listen and actually hear what people are saying, like in between the lines a lot of the time, especially if you're selling over the phone, because you can't see them. You can't see what they're doing. Like, they could be flipping through TV or scrolling social media or doing whatever you all are doing, listening to this podcast right now. So like, if you have clients that are doing that, you're probably not going to be able to sell them, right? So being able to be perceptive is one of the main keys in virtual selling, and owning the territory of the virtual space and making it your world that they're in rather than like you going into their world. I love that, because for years I sold in their world. I went to their house and I sat down at their table, and they had the upper hand because it was their environment. Right now they're in my world. I have the upper hand. I control it.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it is just more all-around control around your business too, and your life.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this before, but like how millennials and Gen Z that now make up the majority of industry and people working today, like their top three like things, commission and like income is number three. Still important, of course, but their number one is freedom, right? Being able to live where I want to live, make my own hours, travel, be around my family, whatever life goals are. Like I don't live to slave away at work. I do this so I can buy the things I want, be around my family, do the things I want, and everything there. And so that's their top, and then the culture of what they're doing as well, which is why team and who you're around is so important. And I know you surround yourself with people that push you forward, right? And that's so key. And mentorship played a big role in what you did as well, right?
Well, listen, I mean, like I think what you're talking about right now is what most people who want to build agencies in our industry are like asleep to right now, is really understanding, like, if you want to build an agency and you want to have longevity and you want to make a lot of money, you need to understand like who's coming into this business, who's going to be doing this work, and what's the work going to be like for them. And so there's this big like cultural divide going on right now. Everybody can feel it. And I'm not talking about like a racial divide or a political belief divide, although those things are all, important to the makeup. I'm talking about an age divide where you have this boomer generation that kind of nobody really respects anymore, which is very interesting. Because like when I was growing up, they were like the revered generation. Everybody, believed in them. And now we're in a place where like Gen Z and Gen Alpha are just like, what, you guys are so far off from reality of how things work today. You're so disconnected from what the reality is for us on the ground. You're talking to us as if we could walk out and buy a house for $10,000, or whatever, like you did. And like you have this big pension that like you've elected people that have erased in our society, or whatever. And so what's happening is you have millennials and Gen X that are kind of caught, which way do we go? And millennials and Gen X kind of see, oh, wait, like we're going to need Gen Alpha, right? And we're going to need like these younger people like Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Like we're going to need these people because they're going to be who's running the show. They're going to be who's developing society and doing all this stuff. And so, yeah, we're going to take their side and not the boomer side, right? So you have this big shift into the things that are important to millennials, more so Gen Z and like upcoming Gen Alpha. Like the things that are really important to them are going to be what companies need to define themselves by: impact, culture, freedom, flexibility, like, doing good, like not being, not being self-centered, like giving back, those things. Like we all know people in our lives. I'm about to be 40, so anybody who can relate to somebody who's my age, but we all know people in our lives who have made a ton of money somewhere, but left for some place that they made less money because they hated the people they worked with or the culture or what. I mean, I'm an example. I just gave you that example of me leaving someplace that like I didn't like the culture and I didn't like what I had to do and what the effect it had on my family. We also know people that could make more money at other companies for what they do, but they stay where they are because they love the people they work with and love the environment. They love the culture. They love the company. They're fanatical, even for a lack of a better term. And so like the more that your company can take that on, the things that are going to keep people in place, the fun things like we do all kinds of stuff, man. Our company donates a bunch of money. We raise a bunch of money for Make-A-Wish, and we give out wishes and we grant wishes to kids, and it's like super heartwarming. And we sponsor wells to be drilled through the Charity Water charity, which is, they're an amazing group that builds, clean water drinking wells in places of the world that don't have clean water. And, we always sort of lead with gratitude, and we have like a culture that's very supportive and not uptight. We don't wear suits, and like our founders are wearing flannels and trucker hats, and we care about people, right? We love people.
Yeah.
And we invest in silly stuff like personal development, and we hire, chief leadership development officers from major companies that do nothing but personal development and leadership development, and we bring them in to help our people. And so making you a better person as a fingerprint of the culture of your company is what's going to keep, I believe, Gen Z, Gen Alpha growing large companies within your umbrella, right? Or under your umbrella, or staying somewhere that they're happy and they can make money and it's flexible and they have freedom and they don't have to be back at their desk and clock in at any point in time. They can get their work done and they can go do it from Jamaica, or they could do it from Mexico. And so our industry offers this incredible opportunity that they're all looking for. We just do a really terrible job of explaining it to them like that, because we come to them and we talk to them about freaking Ferraris and Rolexes and how much money people can make. And look at the owner of our company's got a yacht and a big mansion, and he lets roll up debt go to all of the other uplines, and he, moves people's contracts. And, it's like, and they don't want to be a part of that evil. They don't want that. They want hey, our owners are chill, and this is a fun environment, and we have a lot of impact on families, and we invest in the community, and you can feel good about what you're doing, and the company that you can wear our company name proud, and nobody can look us up and be like, oh, these guys are terrible. You know what I mean? And I think that type of reputation is super, super important to who's going to develop your company in the next 10 to 15 years, because it's not going to be Gen X. They're retiring, right? The millennials, if they're going to be building something, can see, I'm going to need these people because I'm not going to get Gen X, and it's not going to be these boomers, right? So it's all right, well, so I need to have something that I can build on. And we have this keen perception as millennials that, I think we can see the writing on the wall that that's why it's kind of gone by the wayside. 10, 15 years ago in our industry, everybody wore suits and ties and had the, $5,000 briefcases and had the Rolexes and had the polished shoes and had the, the Ferraris that they had a, second mortgage on their house to afford, and all those things. And they were working on their third heart attack and their third wife, and they didn't see their kids, and they had alimony up to their eyeballs. And that was the picture of what it meant to be successful in our industry. And that's still a lot of people in our industry. They're just a relic of the past of what this industry was. And today, the modern insurance agent is more like us, and making there's a dude on our team. You may have heard of him. His name is Dylan Crane.
Yep.
The dude did $1 million, over $1 million in deposits from simplified issue life insurance sales in his first year in the business.
I think it was 10 months, right? Not even
a
full year.
Yeah, 10 months. Amazing stuff, right? That's what will happen when you actually have an environment that fits the way that younger generation works. You know what I mean? That fits the way that Gen Z and Gen Alpha works. So the younger millennial generation, so it's people born from, 90 on. It's okay, if we give you that environment and you really want to make this happen, awesome. That's great. But that environment is comfortable, and it's community based and community oriented, and it embraces technology. It's not oh, you have to do this all manually, and it's not afraid of technology taking jobs away from people, and I think that's kind of the key to success overall long term. If you short term, if you just want to have success for the next couple of years, keep doing it the way that it's been done. It still works today. There's still people that that you can sell to. There's still houses that you can go into. But, in a few years from now, there's probably not going to be, and you're going to be a relic that's going to need to change. So you may as well start changing now, is my philosophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting to start seeing generations actually put their actions and intent behind what they say they really value there. Because I mean, obviously, if you ask, even boomers, what do you value? I value my family and my relationships and all these things. It's like, yeah, but you work 24/7 and never saw them, right, or ever. And now you're into, Gen Z and millennials as well. Like, hey, I want freedom of travel, or to be around my family, or to have impact and charities and give back. And then if you don't do that, I'm not working for you. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to do something that actually fulfills that. So now I feel like it is more fulfilling now, because you actually get to focus on those things. As somewhere that's like, hey, you got to work 24/7 and never see the daylight.
No way.
I'm not gonna put up with it. Gen Z won't even show up to the first day if that's the case, right? They're like, no, I'm not even coming in. They're just going to ghost you and go to the next place. So with that adaptability, talking about, through moving to telesales and COVID and constant change, I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like today. We just talked about technology side, and tell me a little bit what that looks like as far as kind of progress, or how you kind of see AI, automation, technology playing in, as well as the psychological side that I know you're really passionate about as well when it comes to sales recruiting too. I mean, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. But I think, like, there's an elephant in most rooms about AI, and will AI replace the agent? Will agentic AI is what they're calling it now. Like, will AI agents be able to replace what we do? And, as somebody who knows AI pretty well, and who, develops it and designs it and can really understand its capabilities and power, my general answer is no. And the reason why is because AI doesn't really understand emotion like human beings do. And it's going to take a really long time for AI to be able to understand emotion. Is very logical. And our sale, especially on the life side, for the most part, is an emotional sale. So if you're working in something, like title insurance, or you're working in something like, car insurance or something like that, that is transactional in nature and doesn't really require a lot of emotion, like, yeah, you have a really great opportunity to automate your business by putting some AI agents in place that can sell insurance for you. Awesome. You're gonna own them. But there's still, like, you guys can see, there's not creative marketing being done. There's not in-depth discovery being done. It still kind of takes AI a little bit of time to put together just a generalized answer, but not to make suggestions and to give opinions and to assess emotion. And so when we're sitting with individuals, a lot of times when we're selling them insurance, they don't really even know why they want insurance. They're not really even in touch with the emotion of what they're actually afraid of. They just know they think it'd be a good idea. And it takes us opening up that idea to them and asking them, well, hey, if this happened, what would that look like for you financially? What would you have to do? Where would you have to go? What would that be like for your spouse? What would that be like for your kids? Like, what would they have to do? Where would they move? Like, would they have to change schools? How does that make you feel? Right? Does this bother you? Are you carrying this around when you leave your house every day, that if you get in a car accident, you guys are probably going to be bankrupt? And like, does it just gnaw at you when you leave your house? Like, AI is not going to ask those questions, right? Because it can't read the individual and understand from an empathetic standpoint the emotions that's in there. Now, 10 years from now, will it be able to? 5 years from now, maybe I'll be eating these words. But I think what's more likely, because none of us have a crystal ball, but what's more likely is that we're going to use AI to do the mundane parts of our work that don't require emotion, that don't require critical thinking, that don't require strategy and creativity, and like all of the things that we do as agents to protect families and build legacies and educate and things like that. Like, if you've ever tried to learn something from AI and you go into like ChatGPT or something and you're just like, tell me about this. So it gives you like, here's an 87-point factual based article about all of these supporting topics. And that's not how insurance is sold. Insurance is sold 90% of the time on how it makes somebody feel and how it solves somebody. And so it's the explanations, the shorter, the better most of the time. And so because there's like so many competing angles, and it takes somebody with logic and a heart to listen and go like, so your family lived until they were 95, and you're afraid that you have, heart disease that runs in your, the other side of your family or whatever. And so you probably want a whole life that has these living benefits on them. Let me just ask you, what do you have set up for this? And like, you're going to now fill in the picture with the emotional needs of the client. So what we're doing with a lot of AI, and what I think is going to be the next evolution of AI, and where I think more millionaires are going to be made in our industry from leveraging this than anything else, is what are all the like mundane tasks that either you're doing or you're paying somebody on your team to do who is also less efficient than AI, and that money is going to them that could be going into other parts of your business, right? Like that you could replace with AI. Appointment setting, following up with clients, policy deliveries, referrals, annual reviews, the, notifications, data analysis that can tell you, hey, based upon your trends of, the last 3 years, these 25 clients are probably pretty smart for you to give a call right now because your close rate on those types of clients is like 86%. All these data points that like make you a superhuman agent, right? That give you more bookings, that give you more credibility, like that can build websites for you, that can do public presence for you, that can confirm appointments with you and kind of give a great background introduction or something like that. Like if you can leverage AI to do all of these things in the snap of a finger, and it allows you to be much more efficient, you have a choice now. And your choice is either I sell 2 or 3 times as much, or I sell the same amount that I'm selling now and a third of the time. And so what's important to you? Do you want more time? Do you want 2/3 of your time back? Do you want to be more profitable because you're not spending money on assistants and, production assistants and, like admin and stuff like that to go through and do all this work for you and follow up on your business with the carriers and, put all of your commission statements into a spreadsheet and tell you what you've been paid on and what you haven't been paid on? Like AI is doing all of that today, right now. Like you could do this tomorrow if you wanted to. And where it's going to go from there is even more efficient and more effective, and better designs and better UIs and better voices that you can talk to people on the phone, and less processing time. And so if you are investing today in understanding how to leverage artificial intelligence to be more efficient in your business, you're going to make millions of dollars faster than people in our industry have ever made it. And it's just what we're on the precipice of. And so the same thing with recruiting, where it's like, okay, well, now I have AI bots that can recruit people. I have AI bots that can go in and say like, hey, are you looking for something new? Let's get you on Ryan's calendar. You can talk to him. And, I have AI bots that can create leaderboards and public presentations for me and public reputation for me and videos that have me in them and, and stuff like that. And I can make this, I can cut through the noise of social media and all the other jobs that are out there and all those things, because people see, oh, wow, like that's something different that I haven't seen before. That's coming from a different angle. Oh, this person's calling me and it's not just a voice drop recording, like 1998 or whenever we started doing voice drops. This is an actual live person that I can talk to that sounds like a real human being, but it's AI. And they make me feel really comfortable. And yeah, I definitely want to talk to Ryan. Put me on his calendar. Awesome. I'll call and confirm your interview tomorrow at 2 p.m. and make sure that you're still good for 2:30. And AI does it without me telling it to do. Calls and confirms the interview. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you can leverage this technology, one of the other things that we're doing, I'll give you a great example, and don't be jealous if you're not at our company. Hopefully this will be, ubiquitous throughout the rest of the industry, but we have a platform now, our automation platform. We moved off of Go High Level and we moved into our own automation platform. Nothing against Go High Level, but we needed a little bit more control so we could do what I'm about to tell you. Is we have our own automations that run, and as we're generating, either through a phone call or through automation, as we're generating medical information about somebody's medications that they're on or somebody's health concerns, AI is plugging that into our underwriting, generator, and it's searching the underwriting guides, and it's telling us, hey, based upon these medical conditions, you may want to ask this additional question. And based upon these answers that you're getting, you probably are going to qualify for this, this, and this. So you can start tilting the conversation that way. Couple that with our virtual mentor technology, and the virtual mentor is actually running live quotes like insurance toolkits on the side of our CRM. So imagine this, like you're on the call with somebody and they're telling you, I've got diabetes and I've got high blood pressure and I'm taking 2 medications. And then you get a little pop-up on the screen that's just like, hey, ask them if they're taking this medication, or ask them when they were diagnosed with diabetes, or hey, what's really important here is height and weight. Ask them what their height and weight is. And it's just automatically listening in and analyzing and telling you this is what you need to ask. And you ask them, and then boom, it goes like, they're going to qualify for Mutual of Omaha, Term Life Express, Forrester Strong Foundations, and America Term 125. And here's the 3 quotes that are alongside each other. Pick which one you want and offer it to them right now. And you can do the app inside our platform too. So it's like, this is the future of like what technology is going to look like in our industry. You're going to be able to do this from your phone. You're going to be able to do this from everywhere. And there's still people, David, that are sitting out there like freaking knocking on doors selling final expense insurance. Like, I understand like those people need insurance, and like we can do a lot of good selling final expense insurance, and somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to pick up the garbage. Not saying those people are garbage. I mean, there's got to be garbage men out there to load in the garbage, even if it's not what you want to do. So somebody's got to go out and help these people and sell them final expense insurance and knock on their door, because they are the people with the flip phones and they don't have computers and they don't use the internet and they don't even know that it's Tuesday, right? I understand that's got to happen. But to build a business on that size of a market is just silly. Like, even if you're in that size of the market, start like putting some of this in place, right? Start working in some of this side of the market and getting some of this technology going, and be ready for what happens when those people are gone, right? When there are not that many of those people that you need to take care of. And, everybody does have a cell phone, because like the next generation of senior citizens are not like this generation. Right. The next generation of senior citizens are going to be well equipped with technology. They're probably going to have freaking Neuralink in their head, and they're going to be wearing the, meta glasses that tell them who the person is, and if they're a scam or not, or whatever. So it's like, man, embrace the technology and just start to work on this innovative stuff, because there's so many tools out there that can make your life so much easier and so much better.
And honestly, there's only so many years left of that anyways, before even the senior generation is so familiar with Zoom and calls and putting stuff in place and understanding of technology, because that Gen X has now moved into the senior generation, that, that the ability to do this wherever quickly, helping people get to them more efficiently, to even the idea of a 40-hour work week, or all these things are shifting, right? And like you said, people are already getting caught and left behind, and it's going to continue that way more and more so. To the ones that are pushing forward on this are going to 10x everybody else, 100x everybody else out there. And
I think about that, like, the owner, the top of our agency, his name's Edward Pritchett, right? Amazing individual.
Love Edward.
He's like a freaking superhero. I love him to death, and he inspires me, because we're virtually the same age, and he's accomplished so much more than I have, So, but like here's the deal, like his agency's doing, $60 million a year, somewhere in there, in simplified issue life insurance sales, maybe a little bit of annuity volume in there, but not like these huge, massive, IUL policies and, like capped premium and stuff like that. Simplified issue life insurance sales, the most profitable part of our industry. And he's doing about $60 million a year. And the next Edward Pritchett is going to build a $60 million a year agency, probably in half the time. And the next one after that is going to build it in a quarter of the time, because they understand how to leverage the technology to do all these things. They understand how to become a super agent by using this AI that's out there and all these different analytics tools. And they understand how to go on YouTube and watch a quick little course about how they can use AI and start doing it. The information is out there. It's not complicated. I promise you, they've made it real easy for people to use. They've made it really, really simple. For anybody who's ever used ChatGPT, you know it's not difficult. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the tools that are out there are just like that, right? They don't take a genius to operate, and you can absolutely put them into play in your business right now. You can work with companies like ours that already have them in play, you know what I mean, that are already using them, and you can start developing them on your own too. See how we use them. So there's so much that you can do with AI right now, man. Like that's what the future is. And that's what the younger generation wants. They want tech forward companies. They want the same amount of money in less time. They want to, be able to control their income level because, they can't really control inflation, and they can't control how much our politicians put us in debt, and they can't control any of that. All they can control is how much money they're making. And think about it, like for us, when we were growing up, right? Or when in the 90s for us, late 90s, early 2000s, who were like the rich people? Were like, okay, maybe some movie stars, but it was like, it was the tech people. It was, it was the Yahoo founders, and it was, like Zuckerberg.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, it was Jobs. It was all like, who's the rich people to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, or like Twitch streamers and YouTubers? And like people who have leveraged, crypto bros, like people who have leveraged information and technology and attention, and are doing things on their terms, and are like making millions of dollars playing video games online on a Twitch stream. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to understand and put yourself in their shoes if you want those people to carry your company into the future, and you want to grow something that's sustainable for generations. Is understand what the viewpoint is of the people that are going to be in your company and act accordingly. And unfortunately, it's not my viewpoint. You know what I mean? It's unless I just want to hire a bunch of millennials, a bunch of people that are 40, and, like I'll have them for a decent amount of time, and, then our company will cease to exist. You know what I mean? So it's like, I need to prepare for the younger generation coming in that understands more of this and get them in positions to win. You know what I mean? And that means I need a culture that they're attracted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think some big takeaways from today, and we're definitely going to have you back, Ryan. We got a ton to talk about, a lot of other avenues I want to dive into. But a big thing today is being adaptable and thinking ahead with everything, because stuff is changing and it's constantly changing. And I think this industry is known for being stuck in the past in a lot of ways and very slow to move. But I don't think that's not even possible anymore with how fast everything else outside of it's moving. Carriers are finally being like, hey, we need to start integrating AI. Companies and AIMOs and FMOs are obviously moved forward on that and very quickly, and agents are demanding it. They're like, why would I do a paper app? Like, what does that even exist anymore? I don't even know if it does, actually. Maybe it's somewhere, but things are changing so quick that if you are someone who's like, I just want a status quo and day to day and same, this may not be the space, or you're just going to get left behind. And that's why people today have to learn to adapt and be somewhere that pushes them, somewhere that teaches them, somewhere that guides and mentors them on that speed. And that's exactly why I love what you guys are doing. I love talking about the modern insurance agent and how they're able to help serve in such an amazing way. And so, So I'm really thankful for the time, Ryan. I know you're doing incredible things. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on. And for those that do want to plug in to what you're doing, what's going on, follow you, connect, like, where can they do that?
Yeah, so for sure, you can find me on LinkedIn, and just message me directly on LinkedIn if you want to do that. I'm on all social media platforms. You can search my name, Ryan Federico. You see the bald guy with the beard and glasses who looks very sexy. So just go ahead and click on that guy. And then, our automation recruiting platform is Auto Mentor. So a lot of you guys, a lot of your listeners are on Auto Mentor. They've seen us at the different conferences and stuff like that. So if you want any help recruiting or using AI and recruiting automation and things like that, that's what our company set up for. So that's just automentor.app, APP. And we'd love to help you with that. And then, anybody who ever wants to reach out and have any conversation, I love talking about this stuff. And one of the cool parts about having the agency that I have and having the flexibility that I have with being able to sell insurance virtually is I have a lot of time to talk about this stuff. So it's always a pleasure, man. And, I appreciate you guys, Jumpstart Go, as well as Closers Click, and can't say enough good stuff about you guys and what you're doing in our industry, man. So anytime that you want to talk to me, and I'd be willing to chop it up for an hour.
Awesome. I love it so much, Ryan. Guys, once again, if you guys go to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast, we got all the show notes, all the goodies, as well as I'll have the links connected with Ryan there as well. Once again, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for everybody that joined. Listen to us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.